Mastering productivity as a project manager is key and critical to ensuring that you're delivering quality and your project on time. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my personal hacks that I use, not only as a project manager, but as a productivity expert that you are going to love. Identify all your project priority items. Okay, as a project manager, we have so many balls being juggled in the air. And let's be honest, not every single item that is in our project is of critical priority. They're not all equal. They all have a different level of priority. So it becomes really, really important that you need to understand what is your top priority, mid priority, and your low priorities. Because as things come to fruition, you may have a risk or whatever it is, you need to know how to juggle and justify maybe not doing something or pushing it out or bringing something up to the forefront and really focusing your attention on it. That is the life of a project. We're always trying to figure out how to do what we need to do to ensure we hit that final deadline. So how do you do this? Well, you do it with a WBS, a work breakdown structure. You understand all the moving parts, all the big items that you have to actually deliver on and what those tactical tasks are. And as I said, not all of them are equal. So you're going to find out with your subject matter experts, the people on your team, what is critical, very much like a critical path that's going to ensure that these items need to get done in order to hit that line. And maybe there's other things that feed into it that make it better, but these are the things that are critical. And you're going to identify those and you're going to work on that and make sure that those are protected, that they get done because they're a direct link to the actual output. If you're struggling with creating a WBS, well, my students rave about my course, Slay Project Management, as it helps them create theirs. Before we get into the other productivity tips, you definitely need to check this out. If you want to understand the 6 basic steps you need in order to be successful with projects, it is a must. I created it for you based on my own experiences. Check it out. Link is below this video. Plan tomorrow, today. Okay, from a productivity perspective, you really need to understand far out what you're doing, because you need that insight so that you can understand what it is that you're doing today. If you go in blind by just focusing on today and not understanding the bigger picture, it really is going to impact you from a productivity perspective. So here's why you plan today for tomorrow. And I'm going to share with you as I explain why, how to do it at the same time. So why you do this, because there's going to be things that you need to think about doing that are not, it's probably going to take time in order to do. And so you kind of have to give it the appropriate time in order to do it. And if you just go day by day, you may not plan properly accordingly to give that timing that you need. Think about the days of university if you ever had to write a paper. Okay, you knew what the due date was, and then you planned accordingly. Yeah, I know some of you could write the paper the night before. And yeah, I know AI now probably writes a lot of papers. But I'm letting you know there's still other things you need to check and balance and get facts for. And in projects, you don't have AI doing your stuff. So now you have to do all of that and you have to give the proper planning. So there's a couple of ways that we do this. I actually look at things, because I'm a project manager, I look at things a year out. So what is it for my project? Because a lot of my projects are long-term projects. So in the next year, what do we have to do? Now, I'm not detail. I work backwards from a very high-level perspective, from a milestone perspective. What are all the big milestones? And are we on track in order to do it? Then I go closer from a month's perspective. The next 6 months or 2 to 3 months, depending on the length of the overarching timing that I'm dealing with, what are the things that we have to do? And I break it down that way. The next one is the month. In the next month, what do we have to do? And again, linking it to the further outreaching goal. And then for the next week, what are we doing for the next week? And I usually do that on a Sunday. So on a Sunday night, I look at it, what's everything we have to do? Do I have enough time? Am I in too many meetings? Do I have to try to get out of some of those meetings in order to get it done? And I'm looking at this from a project perspective, not only for myself, but for my project team members too, with everything they have to do. And then the last one is, this is because now you're getting, into the detail, is what do I have to do for tomorrow? So always the night before, at the last thing that I do is I plan for tomorrow. What meetings do I have? Do I have everything that I need? Because again, I'm not seeing tomorrow for the first time. I have been already looking things a year out. I've been looking things, 6 months out, 2 to 3 months out, a month out, a week out. And now I'm looking for tomorrow. So tomorrow's not a shock because I've already looked at it a week ago when I was looking at the week stuff. So I now am just being very clear with what I have to do. Did anything change today that is impacting on what I have to do? Do I have to shift things around? So it becomes really important that you work backwards that way. And you're always checking in, and you have these validation points by looking at it throughout that whole, time frame that you have and that you're always validating against. So this is huge from a productivity perspective, because then you can shift. You're not going to get stressed. You can shift your activities accordingly, and you're going to be able to get everything that you need to get done. Now, something else that I tie in with this, which actually goes to the first tip in this with prioritization, as well as this whole long-term planning, and that I use an ABC method as well. So when I'm looking at everything that I have to do, I put it, what is the A, what is the B, what is the C? A is top priority, has to be done immediately. B are, if I get those things done today, fantastic. If not, I can push it out a bit. And C is, doesn't necessarily have to get done today, but it is definitely something that if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, who really cares? Now, why am I saying all this? Because when you do your day planning, you then want to take a look at all your tasks, and you take a look at it from an ABC method. And you label it that way, so you focus on that stuff to get done. And by the end of the day, when you're planning for the next day, if you have C's and you keep on getting C's and you keep on pushing them out, then you really look at those and goes, is this really even important? Should I even get rid of them altogether? And then your B's at some point are become A's. So now you're really managing your time and you're planning out everything you need tomorrow, today. My next productivity tip, slow down. I know this seems counterintuitive, because we're always like, I want to be productive. I have to get more done in a day. I need to do, hit those things. Check, check, check. Slow down. What I find is this, and maybe I used to be like that. Oh my gosh, I have 25 things. Let me get it all done. But being busy doesn't equate to being productive. Being productive means you are doing specific things that are reaching you towards your goal. And when you're doing them with quality, and you're doing them right the first time, so that you don't have any rework. Because to be productive is to do things once, have it done well, and move on to the next. But I see so many times in projects that people are very unproductive because they're doing so much rework. Why? Because they didn't slow down. They didn't give the proper time to think, to strategize, to make sure they had the right solution. It was all about do, go, probably because of pressure in the organization, within the project. But what you don't realize is that's not being productive, because maybe someone said, I need you to be more productive, do this. And sometimes just slowing down a bit and getting very clear and giving that extra time, whether that could be 5 minutes, an hour, a week, a month even, is worthwhile, because you are not going to do the rework. I see so many times that rework is the killer. It increases money for the project. It creates frustration. So it becomes important to really slow down. So how do you slow down? One of the reasons why we get caught up in that is because we get caught up in the whirlwind. I call it the vortex, right? There's that spinning going around, and we just get sucked right into it, and we go, I've been there, I've done it, all right? The key is, can you recognize when you're in it? Then in order to get out of it and really focus on being truly productive, is you take some deep breaths. You reevaluate, okay, are we on track? Let me just do a quick, check-in with my charter and my team, and how are we doing? Do I have to just spend a few minutes or in the next hour just reevaluating the strategy to make sure it's the right strategy, because you don't want to continue down a path that you're not clear on. And then again, know that you have to do rework because you went down the wrong fork in the road, because believe me, in projects, there's tons of them. So you need to slow down. And I know it sounds counterproductive, but it's not slowing down where you do nothing. It's slowing down so you're doing the right things. Because again, the focus on productivity, again, I'm your Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt efficiency expert, is quality, doing it right the first time, and doing it where everything is of value and you're not building waste in the system. And rework is waste. So take a deep breath and spend the time to really think through, do you have everything that you need? And don't just jump into things for the sake of doing it. Minimize distractions and block off time to get work done. Okay, I want to really be important because I see out there in YouTube land and people talk about, how to be more efficient with your time, and they talk about block calendars. I'm not talking about block calendars, okay? In fact, I don't think you should be doing block calendars. I'll tell you why. I think everyone should be focusing, if you're going to block off time, it's only for an hour max, and we call those power hours. Why is that? Psychologically, it's been proven through studies, our attention spans last only 50 minutes. That's 50 minutes. If you block anything more than that, we get distracted, we go on social media, then all of a sudden our blocked off time for 2-3 hours that I'm going to work on, all of a sudden is like, whoa, it doesn't happen and we're not really doing what we need to do. We're actually become unproductive versus being productive. So if we really want to get something done, choose shorter periods of time. Even 30 minutes is better than doing a couple of hours. So 30 to 50 minutes, but the power hours is a great kind of rule of thumb if you're looking to do it. Now, here's the other thing when it comes to those power hours is don't book every hour in your day. You can't do that. Why? Because how many times have emergencies popped up? You're firefighting, you're dealing with stuff. So the other aspect to this with your power hour and blocking off your time is only block off 60% of your day. That's it. Why? Because I promise you, you're going to be dealing with stuff daily that you need to make sure you have time for. And if you start blocking off every hour in your calendar or blocking off sections of it, and you don't have any time to deal with emergencies or firefighting, then what you've blocked off, you're not going to get done. You're going to push it out. You're supposed to get it done today because you blocked it off on your calendar, and it's going to become very unproductive. We want to be productive. And remember with my previous tip about ABC, what are the A's you have to get done? And don't make 25 A's, right? Things you have to get done today. Pick 3 max. Put it in your power hour. You have meetings you have to do as well. So that becomes really important when it comes to blocking off time, because it's the opposite. You want less blocking off of your time, but when you block it off, you're actually going to do the work. And I say 3 power hours max is what you usually can do along with meetings. So there's little techniques too with a power hour. We have at my company, Cornerstone Dynamics, we have these power hours. So if you're working in an open concept, this tells people don't disturb me, or listen, you can come in if I'm working, but if I'm really busy and I really have a power hour, please come back later. We have door hangers as well, because there's something to be said, because now this is now linking to the other tip, which is managing distractions. And if we don't, have this power hour to say, listen, I'm on focused time, I'm blocking off this power hour to get stuff done, then that distracts us. And us to get back to our task, and studies have been done on this, by the way, it takes approximately 20 minutes to get the same level of thought, concentration, and brain matter working the way it was before the distraction. So you multiply that over how many distractions per day, you have a lot of wasted time. So if you're ever wondering why you're not getting things done at work and you may not have as many meetings, it's all the distractions that add up and the amount of time it takes you to get back into your tasks. So being productive is to know how to block off time properly. Less is more, but be really good and concentrated with it. Only 50-minute increments. Get it done, get in, get out. You want to minimize those distractions, and the power hour is going to help in you to understand that you put away all the distractions. So close down your email, turn off any of those notifications so that you can really focus your time on what it is you need to do. And the last thing, it's really important, is stop multitasking. Yeah, I know. Adriana, I can do a lot of things at once. No, you can't. When it comes to mental activities, you can't. Yeah, physical activities, can you walk, chew gum, and snap your fingers? Absolutely, but that's not the multitasking we're talking about. We're talking about thinking, using your brain, critical thinking, creating stuff. You cannot creatively do things multiple things. You lose the distraction of it. That's why you have to build in those power hours. So really get good with your time and understand you can't multitask. Have smaller increments of power hours, only do 3 of them, and minimize those distractions. Hold people accountable. What? Why is this even a productivity tip for a project manager? Because as a project manager, it is your job, one of your big responsibilities, to ensure that everybody is doing their tasks according to the project plan, because it's through everyone's activities that when you put them together, it creates a deliverable that we're all have the same goal towards in delivering. And so it becomes really important that you hold people accountable. If you're going to be productive as a project manager, it's not just the stuff that you do, but it's the stuff that other people do. And if you want to be unproductive, throw out accountability. And I promise you, you'll be very unproductive. In fact, we have a client right now that we're doing some discovery work with, and one of their bigger problem is they have a lack of accountability. They're complaining about some stuff like, oh my God, process this and that, but it really, when you start taking away all the white noise, it is lack of accountability. No one's accountable. So no one's doing what they need to do. And then no one gets, called out for it. You need to make people accountable, because if you don't, people will go, well, I guess that's not really important. And then they start dropping things because it's not that big of a deal, because you just showed as a project manager, it's not that important. And then when that happens, your productivity decreases. So how do you make people accountable? No, you do not yell at people, okay? You do not point the finger. You do not have to be aggressive in order to make people accountable. You need to be clear. You need to create a really good positive culture from the beginning and set your expectations. And that's why, as a project manager, you'll know my previous courses, even my students in the Slave Pro project management program know this as well. It is all in the preparation work that you do, and it's all in the kickoff meeting where you set the tone. Why? Because at the beginning of all projects, everyone's agreeable. There's 4 stages to team development and team dynamics. And in the first one, everyone's extremely agreeable. You want to take advantage of that. So you set the tone, you get clarity on the expectations, you even get clarity on accountability. Okay, guys, here's how we're going to work. We have a WBS action plan. I need you to update it every week. And then what are we going to do if you don't update it? What permission do you give me as your project manager? And you'll be amazed. People say, well, then I follow up, do this, do that. And now you have very clear set expectations with permission from people on what to do. I can't tell you this enough. And sometimes, with my coaching students, I see this more with younger, newbie, I guess fresher people into the professional world than, let's say, more the experienced one. But believe you me, experienced people have the same issue is, it's sometimes difficult to call people out. How do you do it in a very respectful way? And sometimes it's just easier to ignore it, be an ostrich with your head in the sand, than it is to deal with it. But if you don't address the elephant in the room, people know there's an elephant in the room, okay? And so you're just going to acknowledge and go, yep, that's acceptable behavior. So you have to make people accountable. You can do it very professionally by setting up the expectations, understand the way teams dynamics work. And if someone doesn't do what everyone's agreed to, call them out on it, but very professionally, like, hey, Joe, I need to talk to you. Let's have a 5-minute quick conversation. I'm noticing you're not updating the WBS. We all agreed to do it. You even signed the charter that we asked. What is your roadblock? How can I help you to make sure it gets done? Even just that, the way you say it. I'm not blaming Joe. Maybe Joe has a newborn and the newborn's crying all night and he's just exhausted, right? And it's coming in and maybe not getting things done because he's not fresh. But again, you don't want to point the finger and blame anyone. You just want to have, hey, how can I help you on this? We all made an agreement. It's not happening. I'm happy to be of assistance, because that's your job as a project manager. But yeah, you got to make some of those hard calls with accountability, but you can do it very professionally. Now, if you want some more tips on how to be really productive in your projects, don't forget, definitely download this cheat sheet. It's going to give you some really good tips. Watch this next video. It's going to give you some self-awareness on how you can be a better project manager. If you like this content, please give it a thumbs up. Consider joining this community, and I will see you at the next video.